All right, looks like we still have people coming on, but thanks for attending today. This is Ed Crowe. We're going to, this is our second webinar of the week that we usually do one, but figured we'd throw two in there this week. Today we're going to talk about the 2025 Part D drug cap. This one's a little different for those maybe who are new to our webinars. It seems like we got a lot of people that are frequent visitors, but I try to do webinars that are on topics that are very just applicable. This one is, I think, to a degree, but I found it, well, let's be frank, a lot of times the webinars I talk about are pretty dry, but this one is interesting, and you have to make some assumptions. So some of this is factual, some of it is based on that factual information, some assumptions of what may occur in 2025. I think as it plays out, I'll be pretty accurate with it, but we'll see. Anyway, a couple things. If you have questions, please send them in. I imagine I'll have some questions on this one. So send them into the webinar, and if you could send them in during the webinar if you'd like, because what tends to happen is I'll go through, we'll get to the end, and people are like typing their questions, and I just think there's none coming, and we end. So just go ahead and send them at any point, but I won't answer them until the end. As I always say, I'm not smart enough to do both things, webinar and answer questions. We record every webinar we do. We put them on YouTube, our YouTube channel. You can just Google it if you want, YouTube Crowe and Associates, or you can go to @Crowe Medicare, and you can see everything. And we've done a lot of topics. And sometimes I do ones when somebody says, "Hey, I'd like to know more about this." I won't even do it live. I'll just record one and put it up there. I'll just pretend like it's live. So anyhow, let's get started. So we're going to talk about review the 2025 cap. We're going to talk about the impact on Part D drug plans, the impact, and again, some of this is assumed, you have to make some assumptions, impact on Medicare Advantage, and what this means for us and for our clients. Okay, so this is not going to be basically a run through of the Part D drug plan. I just want to talk about it briefly just so it kind of sets the stage for 2025. So I'm not going to get into a lot of detail here, but what the Part D plan looks like now, and again, I'm being very rough with this, just very generic kind of. Obviously, the carriers can have a deductible up to $505 in the deductible phase. The initial coverage phase, they call it 25% cost share, but that's the copay phase. They can put up to a 25% coinsurance, and you will see some start doing that, but that's where we're used to seeing copays. And that's copays up to $46.60 of total drug cost. That's the cost for the client and the Part D plan. And of course, then you got the coverage gap phase. In that phase, 25% brand and generic. Client out of pocket up to $7,400, but they do get the discount built into that, so it's not truly anywhere close to $7,400 out of their pocket. And of course, then catastrophic, which is going away, but the catastrophic phase where the enrollee pays 5% or greater, 5% or the greater of 5% or the copay. And I said above $11,206 in total cost or $7,400 in out-of-pocket cost for the catastrophic. Again, that really doesn't matter a lot in today's day and age because most of us now are taking drug lists and we're pushing them through Connecture, Sunfire, Medicare Bot, the carrier portals, some still through Medicare.gov. Hopefully you're not doing that. It's just not efficient using Medicare.gov because you got to run it, then transfer the info. It doesn't save it for you. So either use the carrier portals. I mean, I'm partial to Connecture and Sunfire, of course, because we offer them both, but use the carrier portals, Connecture or Sunfire. It's going to be a lot more efficient. And you can also enroll the people. It's a lot more efficient than Medicare.gov as an agent anyway. All right, talk about 2024. So the catastrophic phase will change in 2024. It's going to be eliminated, so the 5% in catastrophic is gone. Catastrophic threshold will be $8K. Again, a lot of this doesn't matter. You're just going to run it through the Plan Finder or Sunfire Connector anyway. But that threshold will include what Part D enrollees spend out of pocket, includes the value of the manufacturer price discount on brand. So if you look at the math on that, if somebody's, let's assume for a minute, somebody takes only brand drugs in 2024, that's all they take. They will hit the catastrophic threshold after about $3,300 out of their pocket because the rest is going to be discounts counted towards that $8,000. So just to give you an idea of it. And again, if there's questions, I'm happy to answer them at the end for you. So let's hit 2025 now. So it's going to be kind of two parts. We're going to talk about what it's going to look like, and then what I will call the, I think, repercussions of that. So in 2025, we'll still have an initial deductible phase. So you'll still have plans with deductibles. And then it's 25%, but that's in the form of copays. So it's kind of still the deductible phase and the initial phase. The huge difference, though, is it's capped then at $2,000 out of the client's pocket. So in 2025, let's say they have a plan with a deductible, they'll all probably have it at that point. Even the expensive ones will all be expensive, but 25, they'll have a deductible. I don't know how much that'll be. They'll pay their copays, and then when they hit $2,000, they're done. Okay. And I wrote on there, this does not apply to Part D prescriptions. That's a huge typo. That D is supposed to be a B. So not like D like David, B like boy. So this cap doesn't apply to B prescriptions. Okay, so 2,000 cap on D, not B. It's an unfortunate typo I made there. Also, in addition to that, clients, and we'll see how this is put out there, but clients will have the option to enroll in a monthly payment plan to cover drug costs. So if they've got a lot of drug costs on the way to 2,000, they don't have to pay it all at once. All the carriers will be forced to provide a payment option to budget that out. I don't know if they can charge interest on that or not. I'm pretty sure I saw that they don't believe they'll be able to. So they'll just have to smooth that out for them over the course of 12 months to pay off, and maybe longer than that, depending on how it finalizes. But to pay off that out-of-pocket they have. That payment plan will not include premiums. So here's the big thing. We look at that and we say, okay, that looks great. But the big change that isn't quite as obvious here is currently, right now, Medicare funds a lot of the cost for the drugs in the catastrophic phase. When 2025 rolls around, they're going to go from paying essentially 80%, which actuarially equivalent 80% of the cost, to 20%. So big thing in there is Medicare is going to save a lot of money. So they're going on name brand from 80 to 20 cost share out of their pocket, and this is being done to save money for Medicare. And then down from 80% to 40% for generic. And this has nothing to do with the client. This is behind the scenes how much of these drug plan costs are being funded by CMS. So as you can see, in 2025, CMS is going to pay a lot less of the cost for the drug plans. So who's going to pay it? Well, not a big surprise. If the consumer isn't paying it, then the D plans are going to pay a large majority of it. So Part D drug plans, the carriers, their cost share will increase from 15%, roughly, actuarially equivalent, 15% to 60%. Big jump, 15 to 60% for both brand and generics above the cap. And again, it's a $2,000 cap, so let's keep that in mind. So what we're thinking is in 2025, there'll just be a massive increase on prices for Part D. Here or there with that, I'll get to it in a minute, but even with that, it wouldn't be enough to offset this huge increase. And for those of us thinking, the carriers will just eat that, yeah, like many of you, we've been doing this a long time, that's not going to happen. On the price increase, CMS is is going to be there, a cap of 6%, so no more than a 6% increase. But what's weird about it is that's on the base premium only. So the carriers can't have more than 6% increase on the base premium, but it's unlimited on the supplemental premium costs, meaning anything above the model base Part D plan that the carrier has in there for benefits, they can basically go unlimited on that increase. So I think there's the out for them and how they're going to increase prices to what I'm going to show you in a little while. Okay, so what's the impact here? Well, everything you read, or most everything you read about this, is very positive spin. Government's going to save tons of money. Excellent, congratulations to all the Medicare beneficiaries. I mean, long overdue. So all real positive, but is it reality? Well, one of the things to think about is almost all of these articles originated from CMS. Now, sometimes they're being written from other sources, in fact, a lot of them. But initially, if you read it, they're taking that from articles that originated from CMS, and they're kind of adopting that optimism that CMS themselves put into those articles. So to say it's biased, yeah, it is. And is this going to be positives for everything? I don't have, I can't guarantee it, but no, I don't think it's going to be. And we'll get into that part. So for Part D plans, like I said before, we can logically assume the carriers are not going to simply eat the increased costs they're going to incur. And remember, they're going to incur substantial increases. So my anticipation on some things, and I've gotten some of this from talking to people at carriers, from talking to others that I value their opinion. Some of it's my own. But I think it's more than likely some Part D plans just won't be available in 2025 or in 2026 at the latest. So I think the market will be squeezed. We'll have less to choose from. Other plans, a strategy of theirs will be to push hard on. So what they're going to do is try to enroll a ton of people in Part D plans, and then they're going to work really hard to move them into Advantage plans. And I'll hit on that in a few more minutes on the next slide or two. But as I said before, it'll be interesting to see how much they can increase the rates for 2025, given that 6% cap on the base benefits. But again, they have unlimited supplemental ability to increase that portion of the drug plan as much as they want, and I'm not in the know enough to realize how much leverage, how much the flexibility that gives them. There are estimates, though, from multiple sources, Kaiser's one of them, that they estimate by 2026, your average Part D premium will be $120 to $140 a month. So you're talking substantial increases, and that alone won't even be enough to probably make up the difference. And in fact, some of them said that by 2025, but I just don't see how they could jump that much with that cap. But it depends on what you read. Some say 2025, some say 2026, but they're all pretty good on that, the same on that consensus of that premium range. Is it right? I don't know. Time will tell. Okay, impact on Advantage plans. Well, Advantage plans are going to experience the same thing. I mean, it's funded, same funding mechanism, more or less. In the Advantage plan, you have a D built in. So they're going to experience the same increase in cost. And there's very little chance that they'll be able to do anything within the drug portion to make up for it. So, I know I've talked to some people who said, well, the drug plans in the Advantage plan will just suck. Well, that's not enough. I mean, because they're still capped at $2,000. Doesn't matter how bad they suck. Still capped at $2,000. And they're on the hook, them being the carrier, for a substantial amount of any costs over that $2,000. So just watering down the drug benefit, we'd like to think that's enough. It won't be close. In my opinion, what will suffer is extra benefits, dental, vision, OTC, grocery cards, that kind of stuff. Medical benefits, they'll certainly try to make up for this in the medical benefit category. Raising copays, making more out-of-pocket cost on the medical side. I hate to say this one, but marketing dollars, meaning marketing dollars that are distributed from carriers to agents through the broker manager, marketing dollars that are distributed to us that we give out then, as we've been furiously doing in the last couple months for AEP. You got to wonder about that. So all will likely be impacted substantially, and my hope is that it doesn't trickle down to just the regular commissions. That's my hope. Keep in mind, CMS sets the max allowable commission every year. We have it up there. Medicare Advantage commissions 2024. You can see what CMS sets the max at. The carriers don't have to pay that max. That's just the most they can pay. They're under zero obligation to pay that much. And we are starting to see some carriers experiment with this, and I'm not going to call names out. I don't want somebody to come and kill me in the middle of the night. But we're starting to see some carriers what they're saying is, okay, if you switch plans, Medi to Medi, you're going to get less commission. And they're kind of putting that out there quietly. Or if you switch from one of our plans to another, you get reduced commission on the switch. And I think they're putting that out there to see how much we push back against it. And if there's not too much static over it, I think you'll see everybody adopt that. So that's a trend that is kind of worrisome. So overall thoughts. All right, so the $2,000 cap will be tremendously helpful to those on expensive name brand medications. The problem is it's going to be harmful to everyone else. So quick question for you. If somebody wants to shoot it into the questions as we're going through, I'll see if anybody was close. What percentage of people on Part D take name brand drugs? I'll give you a hint. I think the percentage is much lower than you would ever assume. I know when I looked at this, I thought to myself, I don't know, 30 or 40? Well, that's a lot lower than that. It's about 8%. As of 2022. Now, that number's probably gone up, but not that much. There's a Kaiser poll. Kaiser now calls themselves KFF. I'm not really sure why, but anyway. And they poll people and they run studies, and they came up with that 8% number from 2022. In 2023, they ran a list of the top 10 selling drugs, and the top 10 selling drugs name brand drugs, account for almost 30% of the total spending. So we're talking substantial numbers. But we're talking about something that's being changed, the $2,000 cap, and it's wonderful for some people, but for over 90% of people, it's just going to harm them. It's really not going to benefit them. So anyway, it's hard to say where this will all lead. Again, I made some assumptions, but educated ones based on talking to people. You wonder if you're going to see more people moving from a MedSup to Advantage due to the increased cost of the PDP plans, because suddenly you're doing math, and we always, said, okay, your big cost is going to be the supplement. Well, now it's going to be the supplement and the drug plan. Will they be moving to Advantage plans? I guess some of that depends on, how much the Advantage plans get hurt. I mean, because obviously they're going to get hurt by this too. So do they water down the Advantage plans so much that it really just doesn't move the needle at all? Or do the Advantage plans kind of not get damaged that bad as far as what they can offer? The supplement and continue to go up like normal, and the drug plans go skyrocketing. Will that migrate a whole bunch of people to Advantage? I'm not positive. I guess we'll see. And like I said, it might just cancel itself out. It's hard to say. Will the carriers be working the current PDP clients to move them to Advantage? The answer is yes. They are already doing that. So a number of carriers, and again, no names mentioned, but a number of carriers every year take their PDP lists. They give them to telesales agencies, internal telesales, external telesales. They give them out, and they allow them to call those Part D clients and try to move them to an Advantage plan. Is that going to get ramped up? I think it is. I think it'll get ramped up substantially. I think they'll really start pushing. And then lastly, is CMS going to increase the funding, how much per month based on star rating and all the other criteria? Is CMS going to increase the funding to Advantage plans to help offset this extra cost? I've talked to a lot of people that think they will, but to me, I'm not so sure about that. I mean, again, that's a guess, but I have a lot of people who are very confident that they will, and it won't hurt Advantage plans at all because the funding is going to be increased. But I guess I'll believe that when I see it. I find that hard to believe, but we'll see. I'm wrong often, so this would just be another one. Not a big deal, really. Okay, that's it. I just wanted to run through. I always like to keep things super positive on a Friday, heading into the weekend. But then they also do say give people bad news on Fridays. So I guess at this point, we'll see if there's any questions. I'll take a look. Remember, all our webinars are recorded. They're put on YouTube at Crowe Medicare. We get tons of views. If you could please subscribe. I've said this before, but, my kids pick on me. They're like, you got a couple thousand subscribers, and, the people we watch have millions. Well, I'm never going to get millions, but if you could subscribe, that'd be good. And lastly, before I answer questions, we have the HCSC Medicare contract, and a lot of you are like, who the hell is that? HCSC is a conglomerate of Blue Crosses. So that's Illinois, Montana, New Mexico, Texas, and Oklahoma. We have that contract. We're really happy to have it. People who contract with any of those states with Blue Cross Blue Shield would be eligible for our monthly lead program. If you're interested, if you're in those states or selling those states, we'd love to talk to you about it, and we can send you out a contracting link. For that, if we've completed one for you previously, you could simply just request it from us. If you've never done any kind of onboarding link with us, we would need to have you do it once so we could request it for you. Okay, let's see if we got questions. Oh yeah, we got some. Okay, is the 2025 deductible included in the cap 2000? Yes. Why is WellCare value script going to zero? Well, there's some theories there. I'll give you mine. It's my belief. I'm not speaking for WellCare whatsoever, by any means. It is my belief and many others' belief that companies that are reducing greatly their Part D drug premium is because they want to get a lot of people on the Part D plan. And then once it gets ugly in 2025, they're going to work really hard to take all those people they got on the Part D plan and try to convert them over to Advantage plans. That's the theory. Okay, let's see what we got next. It seems like we may lose some of our zero premium MAPD plans because of this. Well, yeah, I mean, potentially we could. And again, it goes back to that funding question. You know, is CMS going to start funding more towards Advantage plans? If they do, maybe not. If they don't, yeah, that could be realistic. Somebody mentioned, this is good, thank you. Somebody said in California, we're seeing premiums on Part D raise, double, or triple this year. So yeah, I think you got two different philosophies. I think some of the Part D plans are already raising rates, getting ready for 2025. So it's percentage based, so if they raise it, double, triple it this year, then that's just way more they can raise it the following year. And I think, like somebody else mentioned, good point, is some are going down to little to nothing and trying to get as many people as humanly possible, with probably the intention then of really raising the rates or discontinuing the D plan and trying to move people to Advantage. But again, that's just Ed Crowe thinking of what they're trying to do. Nobody has confirmed that for me. I could be totally wrong on that. Can we get the list? I'm not sure which list, but you know who you are. Just send us an email or text. And if I have the list that you're referring to, I'll gladly give it to you. Let's see. Somebody said, I'll read this one. Another part of the IRA provisions is a delay of the Trump administration prohibition on drug plan kickbacks to PBMs. Do you think this will be a way for Big Pharma to continue to pay the plans kickbacks? And could that be one reason the plans are absorbing? Let me just read the rest of that. I'm just happy I was able to read the whole question. And could that be one reason the plans are absorbing so much more cost than Big Pharma? Maybe. It's a really good question. I mean, I'd be lying if I knew the answer to that. It could be. It could be. It's a good point that you make and a valid one, but I don't know the answer. Somebody said, okay, thoughts on WellCare value script plan, which is free or 50 cents in some markets next year. What's going on there? That's what I was referring to earlier. I gave you my theory on that. Are these Medicare Advantage leads for WellCare? Yeah, I mean, listen, a lot of the carriers already for the last couple of years have been taking PDPs and giving them out as leads to call centers, and agents in some cases are, you know, not true call centers, but agents that sell by phone or sometimes in person. But I think you're going to see that greatly emphasized and expanded. Let's see. Somebody said, I believe WellCare is also going from copay on Tier 3 to cost share, costing members more for high-cost drugs. Yes, you're going to see, and I hate to say it like this, but the smart ones, I think, got it a year ahead of this. You're going to see a lot of them going to co-insurance on Tier 3 and 4. And I think that's a dual purpose. First of all, they're just trying to condition the consumer for when everybody's going to be co-insurance Tiers 3 and 4 in 2025. But also there's a theory there that if you think about it, if I'm a carrier and I have an Advantage plan or a drug plan with a percentage on Tier 3 and 4, I got a year for maybe a lot of people who are on expensive drugs to not go on my plan. You know, the people who've taken generics, my plan will come out cheaper, so I'll get a lot of those. The ones taking expensive stuff will go somewhere else. And then when 2025 hits, well, I'm looking pretty good. I've got a plan full of people just taking generic drugs, so the 2,000 cap isn't a big deal for me, and all those other carriers that took all those enrollments with people taking all the expensive stuff, they're in trouble. So, yeah, you're starting to see some get ahead of it, and I honestly, I can't blame them. Okay, somebody said, when you say 6% on the base, but it's unlimited on the supplemental PDPs, can you explain what is the difference between base and supplemental? Yeah, to a degree. people always think that Medicare has a drug plan. They don't. They just, as you know, they come out with a model where the drugs plans have to have an actuarial benefit equivalent of that model, that minimum the CMS has put out there as a minimum value of a drug plan. That's the base. Anything additional above and beyond comprehensive drug list, coverage in the gap, enhancements in any area, that's all considered supplemental. And again, it's getting over my head to determine how much leeway that gives them to go over that 6% base. I don't know if it basically makes it unlimited for them. They can finagle it so it can just be as much as they want, or if it's fairly restrictive. I don't know that part, but that's the idea behind it. Oh, a lot of good questions. This is great. Somebody said, I work Kansas City Metro and average premium costs are up 25% on PDPs. Well, there you go. They're getting ready for 2025. Will they tighten up on prior authorizations and MAPD plans to offset cost on and after 2025? That's an awesome question. As you know, in the final rule, CMS had proposed that they were going to do away with the MAPD's ability to do prior auths at all. They were going to say that they're going to make them adopt original Medicare's prior auth rules, but original Medicare really has none, or very few. But they relented. They did tighten it up a little bit, so the carriers don't have as much prior auth freedom as they used to. So I think they certainly would try to do that if they're allowed. Will CMS change their stance on that and say, yeah, manage this as much as you want now? I don't know. But I know from 2023 to 2024, they've tightened it up. They stepped back on it a little bit, but they tightened it up. So we'll see how that plays out, I guess. Okay. On October 1, can we email our clients with an explanation for why rates are going up? Yeah. So you could always email your clients, but what I think what you're alluding to is it's not till October 1 that you can talk about anything 2024 related. So technically, you could email them now and say, hey, I think, we're going to see, I'm not speaking of anything I know so far, but, I think we're going to see rates go up. But if you're going to specify, hey, this plan's going up and those kind of things, you could, on October 1, you could say that. I would just be careful if you say why they're going up, you got to let them know this is what I think. This isn't, I'm not, unless you're going to quote it from somewhere, just be careful with that piece. But yeah, on October 1, you can start talking about that. Otherwise, what is reason for delay of kickback prohibition? Simply politics. Yeah, back to that original question that I kind of took a pass on answering because I didn't know I don't know. It's a great question. I don't know the answer. Yeah, it is kind of curious, right, that they would delay it. Yeah, and I think politics play a huge role in all this stuff, a really big role. I mean, why, initially when they came out with the rule of 48-hour scope, the only waiver to that was end of an enrollment period or a walk-in appointment. Somebody walking into your office or somebody walking into retail or, storefront. And then suddenly I think there was some noise and chatter, and because obviously a call center wouldn't want that. And suddenly they said, well, inbound calls too, they waive it, which you never see them change their mind. And who does that benefit? An inbound call waives the 48-hour scope call centers. And I don't know what kind of power they have, but it's something. So I think there's a lot of politics involved. Okay, the person just said, those are the lists I asked for, but now I forgot what the what the question, the PDP. Yeah, just email me or something. I'm confused. That's not hard to do, by the way. It's not you. It's me. But just, email me or call us, and I'll definitely give it to you if I can figure out what I'm doing. I get confused on Fridays. Do you think we will see formulary changes forcing members into higher premium plans? I think they'll change the formularies as much as they are allowed. There's limitations there, of course, right? They've got to be in therapeutically equivalent drugs in each category, and there's parameters around that. But I think they'll water it down as much as humanly possible. And I think if possible, sure, they'll have really as lean a formulary as allowed versus the super duper expensive plans will have a regular one. Let's see. Next question. Could Advantage plans offer more generic and less brand names to keep costs down? Certainly. Um, but, that's a good point, but certainly, but, sometimes there's so much advertising going on, and sometimes there just isn't a generic. I mean, look at Eliquis, Xarelto, Pradaxa, but nobody takes that anymore. But the blood thinners, I mean, they're on a patent and they got it extended. So, I mean, what are you going to do? Make people go back to Coumadin and warfarin, and then they got to go get lab work multiple times a month. So, I mean, if I want to lose a few pounds, I don't think there's a generic out for Ozempic. They got a catchy song too. So, I think it's limited to, what's available for generic and how long is that patent going to last. So there will no longer be donut hole and catastrophic phase in 2025, correct. There's simply going to be deductible phase, initial phase, which is copay phase, we'll call it, which the carriers are allowed to have a 25% cost share in, and then it's going to go straight basically to done when you hit $2,000. Somebody mentioned Jardiance. I'm not sure in what capacity or not. Expensive for sure. Let's see. I think that's all we have. These were great questions. I like I said, usually you get kind of monotonous with Medicare stuff, and because we all know how exciting that can be. But I really liked. I had to research a couple extra things on this, and when you really get into the details, it's there's portraying a message that I just don't think is going to be reality. And again, this is going to be great for those less than 10% of people who have huge drug costs, but I really think it's going to hurt the other 90. So again, I appreciate you joining me today. Remember, we always usually do Zoom calls. Those are interactive, so I'll usually go over a couple quick topics, and we open it up and we talk back and forth. It's kind of cool. We see everybody on camera, so it's for those who choose anyway. So it's nice. So feel free to join us for those. And thanks for joining, and I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. Remember, we'll put this video up on YouTube, so you can watch it up there if you'd like. All right, thanks. Have a great weekend, everybody. Bye.